Johnny Roxburgh is the party maestro for the super rich.
People say to me, who are your clients? I say, just get out to Oxford Street and get back in at Fortnum's.
If you have £100,000 or more to spend, he's the man to make your dreams come true.
It's kind of like running a luxury hotel, but in a different place every day.
You get this over my suede jacket, your dad.
This film follows Johnny and his team as they plan, create and give some of the most flamboyant parties of the summer. Some of them costing up to £250,000.
This was a milestone party, and people were talking about this party in Paris, in New York, in London. You need to go on drugs not to love what I do. You need to go on drugs to do what I do.
It's a world without limitations, of champagne, caviar and pink flamingos.
I love the fact that one's able to be creative. It's just so fantastic to be able to do things that people don't expect one would ever do.
This is very nice of you to do this.
It's the summer season, and Johnny Roxburgh and his team at the admirable Crichton are partying their way across Europe. But this morning's exotic location is a warehouse in South London, where he's shopping for ideas.
I need, for the Royal Academy, I need pink ribbon. I think that's fun. Are these expensive or good value?
They're not very good value.
One of the first glamorous events of the season is a party for the Royal Academy. It's for the launch of their summer exhibition, and this year's theme is kitsch.
I just wondered if they would... They're quite bulky.
Yeah.
Yeah, lovely. Absolutely, that's just the ticket.
But how kitsch will Johnny go? 60s light shades as canapé trays?
And then we can also just chop them up.
Yeah.
Plastic beads for the tables?
Yeah, have them sort of draped.
Pink feather fluff draped on bars?
That's great.
Back at the office, Johnny outlines his plans.
The guests arrive and we've got people standing in bodysuits, so they look like they're naked. They've got the tits and the bits and all that sort of thing, standing in baths in the courtyard of the Royal Academy, having showers, which may be quite fun. And then we have this great thing about flamingos.
So the idea is that for the pink flamingo staircase, the flamingos are here. Well, can we say one flamingo is here? These are the most talked about kitsch birds in the world. And we're told that the other 300 are at Stansted in customs. And just because they got the whole delivery system wrong, they're also giving us the other 300, which they were shipping, which were meant to be here last week and are now coming the day after tomorrow, which is, of course, the day after the Royal Academy party. We are going to be the proud owners of 600 of these. So should you want to have a party with pink flamingos, we're the people. I mean, just can't believe it, really. Anyway, these babies are going on the staircase. The staircase is being entirely covered in pink carpet. And these are the flamingos' nests. And then this baby here
is the star of the kitsch show, a giant pink poodle.
This is amazing, Simon. It's extraordinary. It looks like every kind of cartoon
poodle you've ever seen.
It's fantastic. Mm-hmm. All this bit of the body is going to be studded with those carnations, and the top of the head.
We're going to have to wire them all so that they stay in, but basically the effect is just going to be like that, so that they're solid. You won't really see that they're carnations anymore, and it'll just be like a completely solid ball of
and the colour combinations are
it's
fantastic.
Really ghastly.
No, it's not. It's wonderful. And is it, so it's going to
nicely
be
ghastly.
The tail?
The tail, the 4 balls at the bottom, this ball and its little hat.
And its bottom? How are we dealing with this? I think this is a very lovely...
Its bottom?
Was it necessary to have this tube coming out of its backside?
Yes, of course. How else is it going to defecate?
Are we going to have something fun?
No, it's going to just be covered.
Nice.
It will be covered. I did kind of quite like the idea of maybe having it cocking its leg, and we could have pink champagne coming out of it.
Amazing. And how many carnations did you buy?
There's almost 2,000.
It's all kind of 50s kitchen. Everything to do with the 50s is incredibly fashionable again. All those 50s clothes, all those girls' high heels with the long pointed toes and the little tiny heels, and those Jackie O pumps and the kind of the jackets that are like that, which provided those kind of fashions are like everything. Provided they're worn by people who are stick thin and are immaculately dressed, they look fabulous. If they're worn by some fat old slapper, that, and it's all sort of hanging and it's made of very cheap fabric, they look shocking, and they're better off just in jeans and a t-shirt.
Collar's not made yet, but those are the rhinestones that are going to go in it, so it's going to be really glitzy and over the top.
Just fantastic. And is it just going to be
yeah,
solid like that?
Yeah, just rhinestones.
So it really is just going to...
Yeah.
Fantastic. We're kind of on drugs sometimes, the things we do. This is for a drinks party. Let's get this thing out of proportion. This is not a big production number, this is drinks.
With 1,200 guests, Johnny is marshalling a small army of 95 staff, over 20 entertainers, 4,000 glasses, over 100 crates of champagne, and as much kitsch decoration as they can manage.
It's really fun.
And it all has to be put in place in just 3.5 hours.
I mean, it's kind of the thing that everybody goes to. It's one of the big parties of the season. London society goes to it, the rich and the rare go. It's a really coveted invitation.
But if pink poodles, plastic flamingos and naked men in baths aren't enough for the privileged patrons, Johnny has one more trick up his sleeve.
As the guests come in, they walk past the flamingos. These rather bizarre-looking, quite surreal birds are over their heads, and the feathers are meant to be coming off them and dropping onto the guests' heads as they walk up. And it's a health and safety issue that on carpet, feather is slippery. So to get round that, we've got somebody dressed up as a sort of old charwoman going, "Excuse me, love." A jewelled dustpan and brush and pink rubber gloves with a big pink ring on them, and that's it's all quite shocking, really.
But Johnny has just received his own shock. With only 2 hours to go, hundreds of champagne glasses are missing.
Hi. Hi, it's Johnny at the Admirable Crichton. I'm at the Royal Academy. We needed champagne saucers for tonight, and you've sent us 600 of the proper ones and 800 of things which are absolutely not champagne saucers. And we need to do something about it in the next hour and a half. It's for the Royal Academy.
But that's not the only problem. The inflatable flowers have got the droop.
We blew these up 3 times. They went down 3 times. Half of them exploded as we blew them up, etc., etc., etc. There we are, we smile.
With everything else in place, it only remains for the star attraction, the 9-foot-high pink poodle, to be raised to its throne.
Slowly, Steve.
It's all quite shocking pink, and Johnny and the team have finished in time. It's certainly the first occasion that pink plastic flamingos have rubbed wings with the great and the good on the Royal Academy's walls.
In a very politically incorrect way, we look for good-looking and pretty staff on the basis that people like to be served by good-looking, young, charming people. I'm sorry, it's as simple as that.
With the waiting staff all fed, it's time for Johnny's pep talk.
The guests are coming in 20 minutes, so you need to really focus on this.
Brendan?
I don't want to see anybody with an empty glass. I don't want to see any empty glasses lying around on the exhibits. Bearing in mind that most of these things are going to be sold in the end of the day. That's a very scary sight at the end of the room. Now, Pog, give them their jobs. Yeah. And don't forget, smile.
the boys are being put into white shirts with black bow ties and black jackets, and then lavender and pink tutus and tights and Doc Marten shoes.
When you've got this on, and right to do it, everything comes touching you up, you're going to take your hand and you've got to frill the whole thing out the whole way around.
And then we've got great big hearts made of feathers, which I desperately wanted to have blow-up sex toys in, but they said that was one step too far.
And look at the queues of people waiting to come in. It's like this every single year, just more and more and more people. And, but it's fun.
As the guests arrive, showered by pink feathers, the night has begun. Johnny can now leave it to his staff and slip away with his job done. Johnny and his business partner Rolene Fruin have been running the company for 23 years. From humble beginnings, theirs is now a multi-million-pound business.
And I think it's really nice if we have some sort of action happening food-wise. So if we have...
When I made the decision to go into the party organising business, I was scared shitless. Ronnie and I knew nothing about what we were doing, and it was a huge leap of faith. Ronnie was a sculptorist, I'm a chartered accountant. We didn't really know one another, and I watched my personal overdraft soar. I mean, just, it was like the national debt. We were living on fresh air, but also at the same time, you had to look like you weren't living on fresh air. You had to look as though, you know, you were well-dressed and successful.
Hello.
Hello, it's Johnny.
We do it all over the world. So sometimes we're doing dinner for 400 in Morocco, or dinner for 1,000 in the south of France. Jobs can range from £100 to 2.5 million.
Johnny, in all the years, tell me how many parties you've done.
I haven't the faintest idea. I should think probably... We do about 400 a year. And so we've been going for 20-odd years, so you do the maths, you work it out. Hello, Maria. Look at the hair. Oh, darling, how lovely. So this is the room where we do the big sales. This desk, people are all out working today, but this desk is called the $5 million desk, because there's usually $5 million worth of work sitting on it. And so all the very, very big jobs, all our royal work, all that kind of thing, is all handled in this room here.
Dealing with multi-million-pound budgets is difficult. We tend to be dealing with the same people all the time. You know, this world has a little fine frothy layer that runs across the top of it, and those same people are in Saint-Tropez, in New York, in Saudi. They're interconnected, and you can't afford to get things wrong, because the tom-toms work boom, boom, boom very, very quickly. So when you're dealing with big budgets, you want the thing to be as glamorous as it can possibly be.
The paraphernalia of their past parties fills 2 huge warehouses. Each aisle evokes a different style, a different memory.
So Johnny, a lot of what you do artifice.
Yes, of course. Lots of what we do is artifice. It's all make-believe. It only has to last for one night, by and large, and so it's all done with, you know, mirrors and smoke and lights, and it's kind of, it's like having a theatrical performance every single night with no rehearsal. And sometimes somebody's paying you £1 million for that night, sometimes more than that, and it has to look solid, it has to be safe, but lots of it is just gloss and glitter and glamour.
One of Johnny's clients wanted to hold a dinner in their factory in Spain for members of the royal family. For Johnny, it was a great opportunity to let his imagination rip.
And they
wanted us to create a kind of version of one of the English palaces inside this thing. And I said, you know, the member of the royal family is coming. They spend their entire lives surrounded by red and gold and tassels and fringing and that. And the last thing they want to do is to have dinner in that. Why don't we do something completely different? Why don't we do dinner inside your warehouse with all the manufacturing process going on? And the machinery is really beautiful. And we'll build a huge white gauze box. So we built this gauze box, which was 600 feet long. It was about 15 feet high. It was drum-tight white gauze. And beyond it was all the machinery. And then down the middle of this gauze box, this like a sort of elongated tunnel, we had the longest table ever made. And it was entirely made of tile, and it was black tile, white tile, with a sunk canal in the middle of it, white tile, black tile, all set in chrome. And then we had water going down this canal filled with candles, but it was 500 feet long, and that is forever.
From 500 feet to 500 miles. Today the team is on the road to Edinburgh for the prestigious patrons' dinner at the National Gallery of Scotland. It's a glitzy affair with champagne, foie gras and a pipe band. Unlike the Royal Academy, the theme isn't kitsch, more restoration. Surrounded by priceless paintings by Rembrandt, Gainsborough and other old masters, Johnny has got 3 hours to transform these rooms for the 210 guests.
There is no theme to it. They deliberately didn't want it to be Scottish, because things we've done here before have quite often been quite kind of Highland, and with lots of trees and all the kind of things that you would expect. And what they wanted to have was a kind of an international dinner, and that's what they're getting.
As ever, Johnny has an eye for detail.
You can't use this cloth.
We'll change that.
Look at it.
This is just provisional, sort of working out the colour scheme.
Oh, yeah, it's all stained.
What's wrong with it?
Look at it. It's stained. It's got watermark all over it. What you need to do, you need to imagine that you are sitting down in front of every single place yourself.
Yeah.
And so it's got to be really, really immaculate. And I know that this is not perhaps the nicest cutlery to work with, but it just needs to look as though it's all tight and straight, and it needs to be, imagine your chair is there and this has to be in front of you and not kind of like that. Okay. Yeah, I know it sounds very anal, but that's the way life goes. Right, a tall one on here. It needs to go right smack in the middle. That's low. Tall one here.
Johnny is in high demand. His client list ranges from companies to pop stars and billionaires. He also has the seal of approval from Prince Charles.
Because we've got the Prince's Royal Warrant, that gives people a great deal of confidence that when they're entertaining him, they know that they're going to have somebody who he likes. From our point of view, it's a huge honour to have it, and it also makes the doors open to all kinds of wonderful places that we would never, ever normally have a chance to see, or the inside of palaces and that sort of thing, and that's fun. Having a warrant means that people realise that you can do things to a budget because they're very cost-conscious. We do stuff for all the royal family, but also the Prince has a reputation for loving good food and being stylish and enjoying things which are of good quality. So if somebody has never heard of us and doesn't know who we are, the fact that we actually are good enough to do what he likes gives them reassurance.
Things are going according to plan until Johnny spots a problem.
I can't believe I phoned from America specifically and said that I wanted to have candle shades that were to be chosen in a colour to go with the room. Do you know, it absolutely does my head in. I'm on holiday and I bother to remember what we're doing, and they can't fucking well get it right when they're... How bland does that look? They will look fine to most people, and they are fine. But fine is not what I'm in business for. Fine is
You know, what separates us is that we don't do fine. You know, lots of things, this whole life is full of fine, and I hate fine. I only want good and very good, and you know, and 5 gold stars in your book, not 3.5. It's kind of fine.
What would you say to people who, you know, you would say, yeah, party just think of a waste of money?
Oh, it's so not a waste of money. Parties are absolutely not a waste of money. But apart from anything else, they create a huge amount of employment for lots of people. Everybody here and everything that you see, somebody's had to grow or produce or make, or, you know, somebody made the candlesticks, somebody grew the flowers, someone did the flowers, someone's grown the food. It creates it's a big industry. It's the Master of Ceremonies feeds his wife and children thanks to this party here tonight. And so it's completely not a waste of money. And I think people that are sour about it are, in my experience, chippy, miserable people who live their lives in a chippy, miserable, job's worth kind of way, which I have absolutely no patience for. I can't stand all that nonsense. That looks to me as though this table, apart from the chairs, is kind of finished. You know, one of the things that's saddest about all of this, it's not sad, but they'll sit down, they'll eat, and 2.5 hours from now it'll be gone, and you know what, we'll be on to the next one. Very odd. Sometimes you think, you put all this effort into it and it disappears like the morning mist. There we go. Candles lit, we're off.
Back south of the border, and Johnny's team is already on to the next one. It's a star-studded charity polo event in Cirencester for Spanish ceramics company Porcelanosa. The 450 guests include Hollywood star John Travolta, stars from Coronation Street, from Spain, and Jamie Oliver. It's high society under canvas, and no expense has been spared. And to cap it all, there's the polo with the Prince of Wales playing with his Highgrove team. In the kitchen, Johnny's business partner, Rolene Fruin, is in charge of the food.
I can see some bread baskets down there, but I can't see anything on them.
Everything is going well. Too well. The guests are enjoying their champagne and cocktails and are late for lunch. It's getting hotter and hotter, and the once immaculate chilled starter, a cucumber melon gazpacho terrine, is beginning to melt.
It was a gorgeous summer's day, is what happened. And though we left it to the last minute as much as we could, it was too long. So what we're going to do is all these ones that have melted, we shall let them melt, clean the plates, and serve them in espresso cups. Luckily we have a spare 250.
So with the guests enjoying the sunshine and the canapé, Rolene and the team are frantically at work. They've only got minutes to go before lunch is called. Fortunately, they've still got 200 starters that haven't melted, so they're the first ones to be served.
The terrine gets placed the top right-hand corner of the guest, okay? So it goes down like that in front of the guest, okay? If you're going to David and Philip, you take the soup cup, okay? And again, the soup cup goes in the right-hand corner as you put it down on the table.
The guests in the marquee are not even aware that there's been a blip. They can sit back and admire the life-size polo ponies made out of box hedging, the sumptuous flowers, and enjoy chatting to the celebrities. Then, of course, there's the sport of future kings, the polo. Back in the kitchen, the inquest about the starter is already underway.
we shall be having a little meeting on Monday morning about it all, and we'll put in place some procedure to ensure it never happens again. And anything, I mean, it already had double the amount of gelatin in it. We were ready for it being a warm day, but not quite as hot as today.
While the starter didn't win any prizes, Prince Charles is ready to accept his as captain of the winning team. Back in London, Johnny is busy on an event for a client that is fussy, demanding and really difficult to please. Himself. Johnny has hired a 17th century house by the Thames to show off his company and its expertise. At the moment, it's an empty space, and Johnny's going shopping to fill it with furniture, paintings and accessories.
This is the most unlikely Aladdin's cave behind this ordinary little door. Hi, it's Johnny. Hi, it's Johnny Roxburgh.
Transformation is the name of the game. With 275 guests and prospective clients invited, Johnny is out to impress.
Can we have those two consoles?
He wants it to look like a classic English dining room.
And the usual collection of lamps, but they need to be, perhaps we can see them next door. They need to be quite big.
Silver ones?
No, brass. And how about these two?
Okay, a pair of Burleys.
Yeah. I want to try and make it look eclectic. I want to try and make it look as though it's a house and not as though it's all been sort of done.
Yeah, so sort of a comfort zone there.
Yeah. And this is very expensive.
It's not the cheapest globe in the world.
This image creation is something that Johnny's done thousands of times before.
We had to dress a house in Switzerland for a wedding reception. And you came out to that, didn't you?
I did indeed.
And the house used to belong to the Shah of Iran. And it was where he lived. And it was then owned by somebody, I think from Russia. It was completely empty. There wasn't a thing in it. With sort of bulletproof windows, and it was an extraordinary thing. It looked like an Aberdeen mansion in the middle of the mountains in Switzerland. And these guys came out, and together we dressed this thing, and it looked as though the Shah had left the day before. Do you have anything like a sort of pseudo canaletto or something, or?
I have to find Simon for those. They're way too small anyway.
Yeah, or even if we had sort of classical landscapes or classical Venetian. I came across one here called John, Duke of Roxburgh, in a very pretentious way, real tongue-in-cheek. I bought it, and it hangs. It's huge. It hangs in my drawing room. And people come in and say, "Oh, the Duke of Roxburgh, is that one of your ancestors?" Which, of course, it is so not. And I just go, "Well," and I don't say yes. I don't say no. I'm very insecure, and therefore I have a desire to be as good as I possibly can be at doing what I do. And that, I'm sure, is some deep-seated insecurity somewhere in my background. And perhaps some busts on
Busts around here.
well, I'll let you choose them. Just part of what makes me operate is a desire to be as good as I can be at doing things. And that's perhaps, I don't know, to win people's approval, to make me feel better. I have no idea.
Winning people's approval today is really important. It's the day of the admirable Crichton summer party, and Johnny's created little room sets, each in a different style. There are over 160 items of different bits of furniture and paintings, and the Aladdin's Cave hire bill for the day is £20,000.
Fold in the ends. Take this upstairs, please, and without crushing it.
The food has to be extraordinary too. They've prepared an exotic mix of salmon and seafood on a huge carved block of ice, as well as a sushi bar, brulees and truffled mushrooms. Johnny's co-director, Rolene Fruin, is on hand to keep things calm.
Johnny's a very exciting person to work with. He's a wild card. And like all wild cards, they're absolutely superb or bloody awful. But we've been together for 22, 23 years. We know each other quite well, and we both know that if a stop needs to be made, we will close the door and tell each other what we think. We haven't had many screaming matches. It looks really fun from down here, looking up through it.
Yeah, it looks lovely. The smell's fantastic.
Yeah.
This is a great way of hiding the plugs at a party, because there are always plugs in the bottom of these things. You just pile books up, and then it just kind of looks as though they're meant to be there. But you can imagine that if you had this room, and you had a dinner in here, and you had, say, 30 for drinks, and then 30 for dinner, it would be a perfect space. It's lovely, it's next to the river, and you know, when you look at it now, it looks kind of... Well, I'd be very happy to have dinner in this. And when we walked in, it looked like somebody's boardroom. And it doesn't look like that now.
There's one last task before the guests arrive. Johnny's briefing to his team to be charming and to drum up new business.
Things we're trying to sell them tonight. We need to talk about Christmas, bearing in mind that they go away at the middle of July, i.e. in 4 weeks from now. Nothing really happens then until the 1st of September. By the time we come back 1st of September, the big jobs are all gone. So we need to get them in the mood, tell them what a fantastic place this would be for a Christmas dinner. And for high-end Christmas stuff. We don't want to do cheap stuff here. But now that the tax break is £150, you could actually... And that makes a huge difference. So you could actually then do some proper Christmas entertainment. We have some very, very nice clients. We have some clients who are friends and clients who are or have become friends with whom I've developed a really good relationship. We have one or two that are a nightmare. And at the level that we operate as a company, people have a right to be very difficult. If somebody's paying you, £500,000 or whatever, people have the right to be fussy about it. Sometimes the richest clients are the tightest clients, and they're the most difficult. I guess that's why they're rich.
They did 110 events last year. Good client.
God, that's a lot.
I haven't used yet.
Well, who have you been using? There must have been pretty ghastly events. 110, and you haven't used us. Very average.
No, very interesting. The venue is fantastic.
It's lovely.
And the canapes are really, really good.
Good. Well,
Some of our best, actually.
Right answer. I'm always rather embarrassed because I don't always see all the jobs we're doing, because we do about 450 a year. No, and so I say, have you worked with us before? And they say, yes, we've done 10 jobs, and I feel like a schmuck. But,
The magic seemed to work. Within the month, there were 6 new clients with parties in the diary. Another day, another party. But the tables have been turned.
Good afternoon, the Apple Crichton.
It's not a £1 million extravaganza. It's Johnny's birthday.
Surprise! You had no idea we were here. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Johnny. Happy birthday to you. I'm not tricked, don't worry.
It's alive, 49 years old. Thank you all very much indeed. How embarrassing is this? Have I cried? I haven't cried. No, I won't cry. You can try and make me cry. Thank you all. Why? Have we got a knife to cut it? Oh, this could be the best bit.
Using your tongue.
That is a lie.
He's 43. He's just had a really hard life.
It's fantastic facial restructuring.
Half Johnny's life is spent in the car, on trains or planes for clients. This time he's off to Morocco on a recce for another party. Morocco is one of Johnny's favourite places, and he's spent hundreds of thousands of pounds here in the past with some huge parties. And he can never resist spending money in the souk for yet more stuff for the warehouse.
This is the entrance to the souk. This is it. And it's kind of dark and mysterious. I am such a sucker for all this stuff.
Johnny, what do your staff at the Admiral Crichton think about when you come shopping in Morocco?
Well, my storeman has a fit because we usually send back a whole container load of it, and he goes, how is it possible? We came back from the last trip. We had 200 chairs, 20 hand-painted tables, whole dinner service for 300 people, and he just groans. To do this job properly, you have to spend. And sort of if it gets trashed, it doesn't really matter. Because somebody's paying for it, and that's what sets us apart. It's the gloss, it's the glamour, it's the kind of semi-disposable attitude to it. Because it's being a bit fuck off, really. Come and look at this stuff, I just love it. Well, I'm looking for some things for a party that we're planning later on this year, which is going to have a Moroccan Arab kind of theme. And I was really looking for these very, very little things, because they're just kind of enchanting. And they come in all these colours, and there are some more over there in reds and pinks. And we thought what we could do is to have the invitation, you know, like those little battery chocolates, to have the invitation all curled up inside this and then send it. And this is the kind of thing that most people would actually quite like to have. And then the same trick we did before, so they finish up with, we send the directions in a very small form in this, or something. I'm not quite sure how it's going to work, but they finish up with a pair of these, so you've got salts and peppers.
And if you go ahead with that idea, how many of them will you buy?
1,000. There's 500 guests, so it'll be 1,000.
And there's never really a blank check. There's always a finite line. But the big budgets, accompanied by a client with guts, that's what you need to have. You need to have somebody who's prepared to go the extra mile, who's prepared to let you do the things that are risky and innovative. But in the end of the day, they by and large want their guests to remember their party. It would be too awful if you'd spent a huge amount of money and your party was just kind of average.
One of Johnny's most remarkable parties took place here at one of the best hotels in the world, the Amangena in Marrakesh. So remarkable, in fact, that the budget remains a closely guarded secret.
The word Jana means paradise, and to me this is just paradise. It's just the most extraordinary place.
What did you do here?
Well, this thing here is called the bassin, and it's about 1 metre deep, and it's filled with the most revolting snakes and scorpions and all kinds of things. And we built great big 30-foot diameter rings of gauze and filling them with Atlas rose petals, and then surrounding them by night lights.
So Johnny, how did it look?
Well, kind of jaw-dropping, really, because it was just these huge, huge circles of colour in pink and yellow and tangerine. I mean, I can't remember whether we had 30 or 40,000 roses.
The party at the Amangena was the centrepiece of a 3-day birthday celebration, and Johnny saved his most audacious idea for the swimming pool.
It was built in the shape of a traditional Moroccan Arabic design, outlined in Tivoli like that rope light. And then it had a safety rail around the outside of it. Marrakesh is really famous, Morocco is really famous for its amazing supplies of mint, which they used to make their tea. And the whole of this top of the safety rail was wrapped in great fat bunches of mint. So when you were dancing, all you saw was this orchestra, apparently floating all underlit, and you were dancing with the water underneath you, and people got off and swam beneath the dance. It was just extraordinary. This was a milestone party. This was something that was talked about, and people were talking about this party in Paris, in New York, in London. The man whose party it was, or is, because he's still a client, an incredibly charming businessman, but he's tough. You know, he's not a shrinking violet. And at the end of the weekend, I was completely on my knees, and the team that I had round me were just exhausted. He went to get his guests through that archway, went to get his guests onto their buses to go back to their private jets, and he walked up to me to say thank you, and he walked towards me, and he came up like that, and he just couldn't say a word, and the tears poured down his cheeks. He didn't even say thank you, just the tears poured down his cheeks, and he turned round and he walked away. And I thought, God, what have I done? And he was just so overwhelmed by it all. And I was then, that sort of triggered it with me, and I went and I sat in the swimming pool and howled like a baby for about half an hour. And one of the girls came up, and the two of us, I'm sure we filled the pool up in another 2 inches. It was just the kind of emotion. But you kind of give them a bit of your soul. In fact, well, this man got a great big gift-wrapped chunk of me.
Back in London, Johnny's next party is the launch of the Festival of Speed at Dunhill's flagship Bond Street store. It's got to be different, glamorous, and stop them in the street.
We've come up with the idea of having a very beautiful car driven into the windows of the shop, so it looks like it's smashing into the glass. In fact, what we're going to do is we're going to paint the glass so it all looks crazed. And then we're going to have girls who are very sexy and boys, and they're going to be dressed in those pit clothes. And then we're going to have guys outside with checker flags, flagging people down, and some of the people are coming in with cars that are being specially laid on, and great canapes and piles of tires. Fun. They thought I was mad. Thought I was completely, when I suggested it, they looked at me for about 30 seconds and said, you know, what is this man thinking of? Imagine.
Hi, how are you?
And I think that is really fun. And you know, I hope they're going to keep it for the rest of the week.
Off Friday morning.
The number of people that will walk, you see that Japanese man who walked past just now and went, oh. I wasn't sure whether it was the real thing or not. But it's fun. And this is what merchandising, this is my road. I have done more, no, you know, can we run that button? This is our road. We have done more parties on Bond Street than any other living company. We used to joke that round the back of that side where Tiffany's and Asprey are, there should be a little lane called Crichton Lane, because we started at the top and we've done the opening of their store here. When Tiffany was over there, it was a tiny little shop. We did the most incredible things, that's real traffic stopping stuff. We used to have naked men. Could you possibly take that? Let's see what it is. We had naked men sitting on Tiffany blue boxes with water gushing out between their legs on a June evening, and then we had the whole of the front of the building covered in ribbons and carousel horses going around the outside. We've carpeted, for Asprey, we carpeted the whole of Bond Street, the top bit, in purple, and we filled the gutter with that much of Asprey purple roses. Supposing you had the door open and the luggage, I mean, apart from anything else, you want to sell your merchandise, don't you?
Yeah.
And what is sexier than a Dunhill shirt scrumpled up, you know, and a tie? Instead of it always looks immaculate sitting on a dummy. And I think it's much better, it looks like somebody's luggage that they've been in a crash.
Are traffic cones a step too far?
No, I think traffic cones are much better than this.
Because traffic cones at least look like there's been an accident, whereas this looks like it's a little bit staged.
Don't you think it's wonderful when you see products that are really beautifully crafted and engineered, and excellence is what this life needs? And I can't understand why people don't think that being excellent at something is just, it's what life should be about. It's fantastic. And there's so much in this world is so dumbed down and miserable. And people would say, oh, isn't this a waste of money building an incredibly expensive car? But it's not. It's beautiful and it's something one should be proud of. It's what we used to do. In this country, we used to do things like this. And now we make sort of horrible mass-produced stuff that everyone buys and then throws away. Try this, because what you're going to have to be very careful of is you must only pour that much into there, or else it'll be all over the hands.
Which is, I expect, one stuck to there.
Yeah. You get this over my suede jacket, you're dead. This is not mine.
Help.
Perfect.
Nice. The guy with the tray of glasses with ice in. Strong.
They will be absolutely comatose if you give them that. Try it. That's neat alcohol. You couldn't drink more than one of those.
Well, they've got two options then. We can either have the guy with the glasses here with the filled with ice. Alternatively, make a weaker solution.
That's just like drinking neat vodka. Actually, it's fun.
With the paparazzi snapping the celebrities, the glitterati start to arrive. The client is happy and the bubbly begins to flow.
I'm fine, I'm really good.
I don't know what the limit to one's imagination is. I lie in the bath and have a gin and tonic and it seems to come, or I'm driving along and it seems to come. There are terrible, terrible, terrible days when you just can't think of a thing and you think it's all gone pear-shaped and you've lost the plot. And then you open a book, or you look at a magazine, or you look at the sky, or you go for a run, and while you're doing all those things, it all just suddenly slots. Boom, 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 boom.
The summer is coming to a close. But for Johnny, the party season still hasn't finished. He's in St. Petersburg, Russia, organising a series of events for a major bank. They're jetting their top European clients out on a money no object 4-day break. It's a long weekend of culture, champagne and caviar. And they've hired the Tsar's Summer Palace, the world-famous Peterhof, for the night. Johnny's organising 3 banquets in 3 days. But he's never worked in Russia before.
We're here at the Peterhof, and we were meant to be here at 10:30. Originally we were meant to be here at 7:30, but that was kind of, a myth. And so we agreed last night we'd be here at 10:30 to start work with the florists. We've got to blah, blah, blah. There are no flowers here. There are no lorries here. They haven't managed to find the space that we're going to work in. And in a very reassuring way, the chap that I've been talking to, who's dealing with things, said, don't worry, it'll all be all right. Well, this man is not having to pull the rabbit out of the hat. He's not having to do the sodding flowers.
The first problem, though, is that he can't get in. There's a dinner for 60, and Johnny and his small team have to transform one of the biggest rooms in the palace, which is still full of tourists. It's a massive job, and Johnny's getting worried.
It's now 11:30, and we promised we would be in by 10:30. And if I don't get these florists started, we haven't even seen the flowers yet. I know, but that's not really the point. The isolation of a party organizer, that feeling of being alone, and knowing if all goes wrong, they'll sue me.
At last he gets the call. They're running an hour and a half late.
We're at the coach part, so we're all organised. So what we'll do is we'll walk to the side gate. Will you come and meet us there? Okay, we're on our way. Thanks. Bye. We're in, boys. We're in.
But their problems aren't over yet.
This this is all the oasis.
Some of the flowers haven't arrived, and others aren't up to Johnny's high standards.
The things that we have issues with are these peonies are incredibly tight still, and we're putting them out here in the sun in the hope the sun's going to make them all come out. And I'm going to go into St. Petersburg and see if I can find some more. Thank you very much. Thank you. I don't understand, but thank you. Perhaps that meant, can I have a tip? But, you know, I don't think so. I'm not entirely certain I know where we're going.
He's off to the flower market before it closes. The only problem is that he's had to leave his interpreter behind. The flower girls don't know it, but their luck is about to change.
Hello. Do you speak English? No. I need to buy flowers. Yeah? I need flowers. I'd like to have all of those. All of those. All of those. And all of those. All of that. I'm taking all these flowers, but I can only pay you in dollars. So there are $29 to the ruble. So if you all work out how much it costs, and I give you the dollars, and then you split it up among you. $7, $8, $9.
For the girls, Christmas has come early. Johnny is spending $1,000.
It's about £1 something, I think.
As Johnny returns, the team have finally got access to the Tsar's throne room. There's just 4 hours to go before the guests arrive. The first thing to go on is the amethyst silk tablecloth, 60 feet long and specially woven in Thailand to reflect the chandeliers. Every seat cover too has been specially made to pick out the colours of the room.
In comparison with what they normally have, they're just amazing. So what we're going to do is we're putting these down the middle, and then putting those in pairs and then individually. So you get a pair and then one and then nothing and then a pair and then one and then nothing. Then we're filling up all the space in between with a river of rose heads.
There are 20 central displays, and every candlestick has been wrapped with roses. They're using over 8,000 flowers.
8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
With the guests on their way, the table is finally complete.
I think it looks all right. I think it looks fine. Actually, I think it looks a lot better than fine. I think it looks very, very lovely, and I think it's exactly what they wanted.
So at the end of the day?
Well, the clients haven't come in, so I don't know. They haven't seen it yet, so we're waiting for... They're the only people that matter. If I like it and they hate it, then I'm stuffed. But I kind of think you would need to be having a pretty bad day. Things would need to have gone really badly with the rest of the tours and events there to walk in here and hate this.
Outside amongst the Peterhof's fountains and gilded statues, they've been getting the terrace ready for drinks.
What's this? What's this gold? What's this gold? What's this gold? No. This looks just unbelievably shocking. Okay. Can we just...
The gold lame tablecloth is not in Johnny's design book. It has to go.
So, if you lift this up... Yeah.
There's just minutes to go, but Johnny wants it to be just right.
Lift that up. This business that we're in, there are so many things that go wrong. And you can have got absolutely every last bit of it spot on, and you forget one little thing, and the clients just... People love, and I think it's a very modern approach, people love to go, oh, you got it wrong, you forgot that, you fucked up. And there's in people that they see, no matter how marvellous everything else is, they'll have to latch on to the one thing. And the only thing that they'll get, you know, at the end of the thing, I'm sure that that won't happen with this group, But it does happen. You know, oh, thank you for everything. It was so marvellous. We were so upset. I had one woman who actually wrote to me complaining that the shade of freesias, God, I hate those flowers anyway, but the shade of freesias in their bridesmaids' headdresses was not exactly the same as the shade that she saw in the sample. And I said to her, do you know something, we saw the sample 4 months ago, and nature grows flowers, but it doesn't have paint number 3. It's not B and Q.
Finally, the guests have arrived by private hydrofoil to the glory and splendour of the Peterhof. Johnny has made it with minutes to spare, and there's no gold lamy in sight. But will the client like all his hard work? For Johnny, the moment of truth has arrived.
Oh, Johnny! Oh my God, it is fantastic. That is just wonderful. That is really, really, really stunning. I'm thrilled. Absolutely thrilled. I think this room looks completely and utterly stunning. It really does. It's wonderful. I mean, yet again, Johnny has transformed something that could have been just, you know, boring and with a plain white tablecloth into something that is just going to be unforgettable. I mean, it is really beautiful. Really, really beautiful.
Well, now that we're on our own, it's kind of good that the client's thrilled, because that's really what it's all about. And if you worked jolly hard and they hated it, but when you saw her face when she walked in and she was tickle pink, and that's really, really what the thing's about. That's what my job's about. And I think we got the right result.
So you're happy?
I'm very happy. I'm looking forward to a very large gin and tonic, or something along those lines. I wish I had a pair of eyes that meant I could see with the spray.
As a final touch, Johnny sprays the room with the essence of cassis and wild figs. For the guests, it will be a party of a lifetime. But for Johnny, it's business as usual.
It's the easiest thing in the world to tell you what makes a good party. None of the things that we do. The thing that makes a good party are the people. And we can come along and give you every gizmo and trick and add-on in the universe. You can have the best wine, the most fantastic flowers, the towering tents, the wonderful cabaret. If you've got dead, boring, dull people, you might as well take your money and burn it in the gutter.